Hi guys, hello everyone. This is D Pranay Kumar from CSEC section. Now let's gonna discuss about the today's topic, which is what is pyqt. So let's move into the topic. So what is pyqt? Pyqt is a free software developed by British firm which is Riverbank Computing, and it is available under few similar terms and conditions like to few similar terms and conditions of Qt version older than 4.5 version. What is pyqt? To speak generally, what is pyqt? Pyqt connects the Qt C++ cross-platform framework with the Python language. It is the GUI module. GUI means graphic user interface. That means Qt is more than a GUI toolkit, which is graphic user interface toolkit. It's more than that. Which is why it features abstractions of network sockets or threads along with Unicode, SQL databases, SVG, OpenGL, XML, an operational web browser, a service system, and a vast array of GUI widgets. The main principle behind the Qt class functions is, which is a Qt class function is related to a slot mechanism responsible for offering communication between items with the purpose of designing reusable software components with ease. That means we can use the software which is already used with the very easy way. And also Qt comes up with Qt designer. That means it's a tool that acts as a graphical user interface. pyqt is a design Python code from Qt designer while adding new GUI controls with when both Qt and Python programming language is used. So now let's go into the topic, what pyqt classes. What are pyqt classes? Pyqt classes are classified into distinct modules as it follows. Qt core, first one. Qt core. What is Qt core? The Qt core setting. So first, what is pyqt core? pyqt core setting features it's the core non-GUI functionality being employed for items such as time, files, directories, distinct data types, threads or processes. And the next one is Qt GUI. The Qt GUI features graphical components and related classes such as buttons, windows, status bars, bitmaps, colors or fonts. And next, the Qt network. The Qt network is meant to be used for network programming purposes, and it eases the coding for TCP or IP and UDP clients or servers. Next, Qt XML. The Qt XML serves the purposes of working with XML files, offering implementation for SACs and DOM APIs. Next, Qt SVG. The Qt SVG features class for relieving the contents of SVG files. SVG being a language meant to describe two-dimensional graphs or graphical applications in XML. Qt OpenGL. The Qt OpenGL is meant like for rendering both 3D and 2D graphics via the OpenGL library. Next, Qt SQL. The Qt SQL offers means of working with databases. That means it's simply we can say that pyqt. What is pyqt means? It is the Qt cross-platform which links the C++ and Python programming. So next slide. So now we'll look at using the Qt designer. How can we use the Qt designer? So it approaches for using the automatically generated UI code from the designer, adding logic, architectures for adding logic to our widgets. Yeah, these are the These are some things which we can use in pyqt. And next, qt designer. Now you can look at the qt designer given below. What is qt designer? The design the look of the GUI and automatically generate the Python code. Qt designer can be extended by writing plugins in C++ or Java. See, on the left side you can see a plugin is used to expose a custom widget to designer so that it appears in designer's widget box just like any other widget. And next, using the qt designer. Now let's look at this. How can we use the qt designer? It's used to designing a small reusable UI widgets. Use the qt designer to design the visual part of the widget. That means without logic we can do that. Using the pyqt command to transform and generated xml.ui file into Python code that we can draft into the Python code. Extend generated code to add logic to the widget using signals and slots mechanism. So we can use the signals and slots mechanism to add logic into the widgets. So next, here you can see that on the right side, first designer, then it generates to the UI file, and then pyuc generates the Python code or Python file. Next, automatically generated UI.py code structure. .py means .python. So the code is structured as a single class that is derived from the Python object type. The class contains a method called setupUI or self or parent widget, which builds the widget tree from the parent widget. Like it's the branch of the trunk. This file should only be imported, never edited. You cannot edit this file, but you can import this as many as possible. So you can see here in the bold box, all changes made in this file will be lost. So you can have the chance to lose the information. Setup UI, self flag changer, yes, etc. Next, parent widget. Layout 2, label 1, button 2. Okay, now let's continue. The three approaches for the UI form class. The three approaches we can use for the UI form class. First one is a direct approach. See, in the direct approach, we can construct a widget to use a placeholder for the component and set up the user interface in it. Yeah, this one is known as a direct approach. Next, the second approach is single inheritance approach. The subclass, the forms base class, example the queue widget, queue dialog, and include the private instance of the forms interface object. Here the queue means the QI approach. Next, multiple inheritance approach, the third one. Subclass both of the forms base class and the forms user interface object. See, the base class is known as the parent widget and the other user interface object is layout 1 and the others. So next, single inheritance approach. Let's look into this in detail. Now in detail we'll look into the single inheritance approach. The subclass a Qt widget and all set up the user interface from within the constructor. So this will expose the widgets and layouts used in the form to the Qt widget subclass, providing a standard system for making signal and slot connections between the user interface and the other objects in your application. The encapsulation of the user interface widget variables within the UI data member. So you can see the code given below. which is used as a single inheritance approach. This code is known as a single inheritance approach. Yeah, next one is the multiple inheritance approach, the second method. Subclass of the both forms base class and the forms user interface object. This allows the widgets in the form to be used directly from within the scope of the subclass. Direct creation of signals, slots and connections, etc. This one is the multiple inheritance approach code. So next, now adding the logic to it. Signals and slots are used for the communication between objects. Signal equal to is signal is emitted by a Qt object when a particular event is fired. Slot is a Python callable function or a function that is called in response to a particular signal. See, you can see the flowchart here, in which you can know the difference between signal and slot, how they are connected. Next one, MVC architecture. What is MVC architecture? It's the controller. The control is a separate Qt object. Inside the controller we have the model and the view. We are obliged to use multiple inheritance for the view class. See, here you can see the controller to model to view. Controller connects the model and the view, which is linked self model and self UI. See, you can see here, to add the widget to the larger application, we need to access the view class. Next, MV architecture in the Qt way. The logic is part of the view. Connections of signals to slots happen inside the view class, can be with single or multiple inheritance. See, you can see flowchart or the diagram. Next, see, can be used directly to compose larger UIs. This can be used as to compose larger UIs, user interface. See here the code MV, difference between MV and MVC codes. And next, see, using our custom widgets. How the custom widgets are used. First, parent widget is connected to the other sub widgets, and the total 3 widgets are connected in this way. And total, by summing up, MVC versus MV, single versus multiple inheritance. See, and at last we can tell that pyqt is the Qt interface, which cross links between the programming languages C++ and Python. Thank you.